Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this webinar to talk about the 2026 KUK Annual Conference abstract submission process and what we're looking for. Delighted to see lots of people registering early interest in the abstract call. We've got a few presenters here today. I've got a bit of a cold, so I'm just going to do the introductions and then leave them to take the floor. So obviously we have Stuart Wilkinson, our CEO, who will give you the big picture of our conference theme and the sub-themes. We have Rita Teixeira, who is our events and marketing manager, and she is masterminding the conference and will be able to tell you about the app that we're using, the Eventify app for abstract submissions and how to use that. We have Yvonne Kimined from Strathclyde University, who is on our conference advisory group and has lots of experience in reading through abstracts and selecting submissions, so she will give some of her insights there. And Sack Russell from University of Sheffield, who is a new member on the CAG but has lots of experience as a delegate to conference, so knows what he's looking for in terms of the delegate experience. You can put questions as we go along in the chat and or in the Q&A. The Q&A means that we can respond whilst people are talking, but you're welcome to put things in the chat as well, and we'll pick those up. We only have 30 minutes, so it'll be quite a whistle stop tour of conference, but we're recording obviously, so you can watch it back again if you need to. I will hand over to Stuart.
Thank you, Tamsin. So I thought I'd start off just very briefly on the assumption that not everybody might have been to conference. So just give you a sense of the excitement that we have around conference. So this is a great opportunity once a year for the whole community of people interested in knowledge exchange to come together. And I say that because we have member organisations from research and education institutions, from R&D companies, from supporters and funders of knowledge exchange. And it's a real opportunity for that whole spectrum of participants in knowledge exchange to come together. And I want to draw that out because I think it's really useful when we have multiple perspectives coming together at conference. It's a great chance for people to share best practice, and that's a really key thing for these member abstracts to help sort of highlight and showcase some of the things that have been going on in the world of knowledge exchange. And so we very much, the member abstracts are a really key part of the conference. So that's the big picture. In terms of this year, as knowledge exchange gets ever more interest, particularly from government and funders in the UK, we're thinking about knowledge exchange for the future. That's the big overarching theme of the conference. And within that, we've kind of got 5 thematic areas. So future industries and missions, very much reflecting on the government's take on commercialisation and its missions and strategies and goals. We've then got a second theme on tech-driven innovation and commercialisation, a theme around partnerships for resilience, a theme around regional growth and community empowerment, and then a final theme around building KE capacity and impact. This information is on the website, and there's a little sort of descriptor of what those themes are, which you can go and have a little bit more of a look at. We provide those themes to provide a little bit of structure to help organise the conference, but hopefully those themes cover enough ground that you can find an area where your interest fits, and that you can sort of submit something that is, find a home for something that you submit. I think in terms of the overarching conference, for me, it's a highlight of the year, and it's really exciting to hear all of the different contributions and all of those perspectives. So we're really very much looking forward to the member abstract side of things.
Thank you, Stuart. Rita, do you want to give us a quick overview of the app that we're using to submit abstracts this year? Because I think that's a new feature we've introduced, isn't it?
Yeah, so this year we're using Eventify, which is the same sort of app that we used last year. So we're using a form. I'm just quickly going to share my screen. So hopefully you can see my screen okay. So on the website, if you click on the Abstracts tab, you'll be able to find all the pathways. And here you can just click the button to submit your abstract. So it's meant to be an easy form where you can just upload this information. once you start the process of submitting, you won't be able to save it and then go back to your submission. So what we do recommend is that if you want to copy and paste the questions and have more time to think about them and plan what you want to write, then you can come back here and then make your final submissions. Some of the questions, they have a limit in terms of max number of words, so please make sure you take that into consideration. And yeah, once you complete those, there are some questions that are mandatory. If you just tick those boxes and submit, that should be it. You should receive an email with a confirmation that you successfully submitted your abstract. And then from the back end side of things, we'll have the list with the abstracts where then the conference advisory group will be able to review them. But yeah, that's meant to be an easy process. So each pathway has its own link for submitting an abstract, so it's linked to each category. So do please make sure that if you want to submit an abstract for a specific category, you're choosing the correct one. And you can always double check that by having a look at the banner at the top, which indicates the name of the pathway. And yeah, that's it for me.
Thanks, Rita. I'm going to anticipate a question. Can people submit to more than one category?
Yes, they can.
They can.
Yeah.
So it'll just be a case of there will be a little bit of repetition in terms of the information they need to provide, because they need to provide the same information for each category.
Correct.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Okay. So the interface should make it really easy for us to see how many abstracts we're getting under each theme, and that will help the KEUK in terms of calibrating the programme. We're aiming to, one of our aims is to have as much diversity, as many different perspectives in the conference programme. So just bear that in mind when you're submitting, that, we may really like your submission. We may ask you to come back and do it in a slightly different format or join forces with another similar abstract. So don't be offended if we do that, because we're just trying to cover, get as many people involved as we can. The deadline for abstracts is the 4th of December. So that's just under a month. So hopefully that gives you enough time to put something in. We're trying to we've got this process started much earlier this year than we did last year, which is good. But of course we then have the Christmas break to contend with. So we're giving the KEUK a slightly longer review period so that we can then make our selection quite quickly after Christmas. We're kind of getting together towards the end of January, and we will confirm who has been successful at the end of that month and into early February. So all those deadlines are also on the website, so you can check back. Yvonne, do you want to give us some reflections on your experience as a kind of somebody who's been through this process a number of times, trying to select from all the abstracts we get and creating that programme?
Thank you, Tamsin. Yeah, I was thinking about this and just earlier this morning of what the kind of things that we look for when we review the abstracts. I'm really encouraged to see that people can only submit under certain category in the category they're in on the form, because sometimes that's not been really obvious. So I think clarity overall and just reading the rules, it is that read the question and answer the question according to the rules that are in the form. We ask those questions for a reason so that it makes the job of the reviewers much easier. And some years, I think last year and the year before, we had a lot of submissions. So make that job as easy as possible for us. And I think clarity around how you're answering the questions makes it much easier for us to see that it would be something that we would want to include in the programme or not. I wrote down a couple of words that just kind of stood out to me for this. And the first one was enthusiasm. Please communicate how enthusiastic you are about your topic. We can all write endlessly about different things, but actually, I think for me, when I'm reading it and talking to somebody about what they do, it's about how enthusiastic about that, and because that comes across in a conference talk, that comes across in a session, if someone's enthusiastic about their subject, and if you can write enthusiastically as well, that helps us see that, oh, that'd be a really good talk, and this would come across well, or it would fit in well in a session with others or whatever. So I think enthusiasm. I think Tamsin, you touched on this, but flexibility. Sometimes with just the volume of proposals we've had in the last couple of years, we've had to try and include as many people as possible. We've wanted to bring some together. So you might say that your talk is an hour long with, a workshop or an interactive part, and that would be fantastic. But actually, we might come back and ask you to do 20 minutes with two other speakers because you're all talking about the same kind of things and it fits together really well. So bear that in mind. I mean, have a prescription of what you want to have in the session and how you want to run it, but we may ask you to be a bit flexible in that if there's lots of proposals received. And most of all, make it memorable, because the thing that people will come and talk to you about afterwards is what you've spoken about, and they'll come and seek you out and they'll say, well, you said this, and sometimes it's the most fleeting thing that you've said, but they've picked up on it because it relates to what they do. So I think that's a really important thing. Make it memorable so that you can encourage discussion. I mean, I'm assuming that's why you would enter into this process. You would want to discuss your topic further and develop partners, and that's really a key of the conference, is meeting people from other universities that do similar things to you, and that's often something I really value in the conference, is that you speak to people who are doing similar things, even if it's quite niche things or areas of work, and you can talk to them. And actually, I think bringing that out in a conference presentation is really helpful, because people will ask you questions after it, but follow up with you as well, and it often leads to people working together in the future. So I think that's a kind of key point. Just having that memorable, knowledgeable part of it as well, and also, I mean, I guess there's also memorable with a bit of fun. I was reflecting in last year's conference, and I don't know if anyone in this call was in the session that the Royal College of Music took part in, and Emma played the recorder. That has stayed with me. That's maybe not memorable. I mean, she was very proficient. She was excellent, in fact, which none of us knew when she said she was going to play the recorder. But it made the session memorable. And actually, although her topic didn't always, it was all about the arts. It was really interesting from just a very general knowledge exchange point of view. So I think just again, that whole, what you're talking about might be in a certain niche area, but actually it might apply to lots of different types of knowledge exchange professionals. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. I missed the recorder playing, unfortunately. I wasn't able to go to that one. So that's good. That's a really important point. And I think the elevator pitch session that we've introduced over the last couple of years, which I think was your suggestion, Yvonne, has really enabled us to combine lots of really interesting, short, sharp talks where you can just see a wide range of projects and have that time afterwards to pick up with people. So if you're a bit nervous about committing to a 20-minute or an hour-long proposal, please feel free to put in a 10-minute elevator pitch. We love those because it means we can get more people in. Zach, did you want to add anything in terms of your kind of delegate experience and what you might be looking for as a member of the KEUK?
Yeah, I think from a delegate experience and sort of general sort of experience within the sector, I think for me, it's always about there's got to be a bit of a pull within sort of the session and what you're going to cover within your session. I've did a session back in sort of Blackpool as well, and that point around flexibility, I sort of had two elements to my sort of presentation, and didn't really know how to pitch it. Sort of pitch it as a 1 hour session, but I sort of combined with York and Newcastle, and that worked really well because we were talking about the same topic but gave different perspectives, and we came from different sort of backgrounds. So that was actually really useful in how I sort of kept the flexibility there. So I think having some sort of pull for people, I think what actually happened as well, I just slightly touched on skills within mine, but actually that was what lots of people asked questions about then, and then sort of collared me, around sort of the coffee breaks and networking time and stuff like that. So I think that was really useful. I think not being particularly, don't be modest. Don't think, well, I don't think anybody's going to be interested in this. Just write an abstract, just submit that abstract, because it might fit nicely with something else. It's probably something, if that's worked well for you or hasn't, actually it might be quite a nice, safe environment to have those sort of discussions as well. And I think the biggest thing I found, when I went to Blackpool, I'd not been to the conference for a couple of years. I'd been previously, obviously, but it was a bit of a cheat code to help with my networking, because actually the amount of people that then came up to me, or you'd have conversations and they're like, oh, you're doing a session, I was going to come to your session. So it really helped with that, and it really helps with sort of expanding your network. But also through those conversations outside of your session, it helped me get views of things that are happening at other universities, which was relevant for me to take on. And then you know, I think it can be quite a nice development thing for you as an individual to sort of stand up, speak, share your experiences, whether you experience within sector or sort of new to the sector. It can be quite useful to help with sort of personal development as well, I found. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Zach. That's a really important final point, I think. And we do try to bring in, you know, kind of new to KE people as well, and support that career development. We like to have new voices from in all sorts of ways. And actually, Stuart, one of the themes we've specifically introduced this year is about KE skills and professional growth, isn't it? Kind of focusing on what we support as an organisation, so the how you're doing KE, and that relates obviously to the KE Concordat and the skills framework, which we'll definitely be talking about during conference, but also, you know, relates to how you're doing your job at a time when we know lots of teams are being made smaller or being expected to do more with less. You know, we're all familiar with the situation. But we do also want to hear from people outside of universities, and we have non-university members, and perhaps some of you in the audience here or listening in might not be from a university. We definitely want to hear from you if you're doing KE from a company, from an industry perspective, or if you're in a research institution, or if you're in government, perhaps, whether that's local government, national government, and trying to create connections with the research base. We want to kind of get all those perspectives of KE. Do you want to say anything more on that, Stuart?
No, I think you said it perfectly. I think that diversity of perspectives is really important. I think, Zach, your point is really important one. I'm struck every year by what a supportive community it is, and so I think it's a really friendly, supportive community. And so actually bringing people into that, and sort of offering up what might seem precious to you, you're bound to get lots of sort of supportive comments and interest in what you're sort of putting forward. So yeah. And yeah, Tamsin's point about diversity is a really important one. We really want all sorts of types of institution, both from research, from not research, from the public sector, the private sector, charities, because knowledge exchange is a sort of multi-party game. And so having those perspectives is really important.
Yeah. So we've got a question in the chat, which you can probably see. Are you interested in having data included in the abstract to back up the case for presenting at the event, to showcase the level of interest in the initiative? I think yes. I mean, it does help to, if you can show that you've got a community that's interested, or you've got a level of interest in a project that you're involved in, that means it's kind of has significance to the sector more broadly. Any evidence in that respect can help us to choose perhaps between one abstract or another. So yes, do include that. I suppose more broadly, data and metrics. I don't think that the question is specifically about data and metrics, but data and metrics are always of interest to our audience. We always get a strong level of interest when there is talks around metrics and the evidence base for knowledge exchange. So if you've got a very data-driven perspective on any of the topics, then that's absolutely welcomed as well. I haven't got any more questions. There's nothing in the Q&A either. Are there anything else that we feel we should highlight at this point? I might explain that I suppose the executive team, so myself and Stuart in particular, but in conversation with the KAG as well, will be programming the majority of the plenary sessions. So there are kind of headline speakers and panelists, but we will use the abstract submissions to kind of get an idea of what the really hot topics are in terms of what our delegates want to talk about. So we may draw on them for that as well. You may find that you're elevated onto the plenary platform if it looks like a particularly strong case for doing that. Anything else we want to highlight at this time?
I think we've covered most of the bases. I think
Yeah.
we talked about the timelines. So the reason why we've dragged it forward is just to give that time to prepare. We're aware that flexibility can seem a bit daunting to some people, but actually with those timelines, it allows us to sort of build in that flexibility and put together those panels that Zach was talking about, going 3 or 4 different perspectives that sort of work. We're very mindful of giving you a good run into that.
I suppose, Rita, we should highlight that tickets are on sale now. If you know you're coming to conference, regardless of whether you're submitting an abstract or not, you can buy tickets now. What's the deadline for the super early bird?
Yeah, so the super early bird ends tomorrow. So yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So get in quickly if you're interested in the super early bird. There is a limited amount of tickets for that as well as a deadline for that. So yeah, if you haven't managed to take advantage of that and want to, do that. But then the early bird will be open until February.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so then you still have time to get in at the early bird rate, and there's the usual early bird rate for members and non-members.
Non-members.
Super. So do let people in your networks know about conference. Do get your abstracts in. Yeah, do give us any feedback that you'd like to on the program or the way it's been set out. But if you have a particularly strong idea for plenaries or whatever, please do feel free to drop myself and Stuart a note. We're always happy to have suggestions. But if there's no more questions, I will let people have a few minutes of lunchtime back, unless there's anything else anybody wants to add.
I'm just gonna go here for a sec.
Yeah, I was just going to ask a quick question myself, really.
Sure.
I guess from a numbers perspective, how many abstracts have been submitted in previous years? You know, sort of what's been the level, and then how does that then translate into roughly how many sessions we might run? Because I know some of them might get combined.
Yeah, so we had, I think it was around 70, between
Correct.
70 and 80 abstracts last year. We've shifted the timing slightly so that I think we're trying to include more abstracts, more speakers in this conference, because we've noticed that in other conferences, sessions tend to be kind of 45 minutes rather than an hour, and that just enables you to fit a little bit more in the program. So that's the kind of thinking at the moment. We may be flexible on that depending on how many abstracts we get and how much content we're just trying to fit in. So yeah, that's not a very definite answer, but it's it's that kind of ballpark. Oh, I can see a question. So somebody just confirming that you can select more than one session type for submission. Yes, you can. I think Rita's going to answer that live as well. You can submit more than one session type, but you will have to submit the same information except for the session description each time you do that.
And I think we're also, I mean, it's a nod to our conference advisory group, of which Ron and Zach are 2 examples. We rely very much on their expertise. So don't worry if you're not sure which pathway it exactly fits in. We will be using the brains of the conference advisory
That's
group
right.
just to help to sort
Yeah.
of fit things into the right sort of
Yeah.
category.
I
So
think that's right. Each year we have kind of reassigned people to, there will inevitably be one category that is kind of oversubscribed almost, and we try to then reassign to other categories where we can. So yeah, that's a good point. So
yeah.
do, submit to the one that seems to fit best. And the CAG will do lots of work behind the scenes to try and fit as many things in as we can.
And thank you to the CAG for their efforts, which we greatly appreciate. Having a group of peers helping to navigate through this is really helpful, really important.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Lots of hard work to look forward to after Christmas. Super. Okay. I think we'll bring things to a close there. Rita, have we got a conference at email address if people
Yeah,
get
I
stuck
can.
or have
Yeah, I can.
questions? Do you want
Yeah.
to put that in the chat quickly? So yeah, do get in touch if you have any problems with the platform for whatever reason, or you just really unsure about what to write or what to submit, and we're here to help. So that's great. Okay, thank you very much, Yvonne. Thank you, Zach. I'll be seeing you soon for our next get together. Thank you, Stuart. Thank you, Rita. And thank you, everybody, for listening in.